morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Jolene.
Oh, that's me. That's me. That's my line. I'm here with you to do the Success Through Community podcast. So in doing so, tell me who we're talking to today.
We are talking with Kat Marie today. So Kat is she's so cool. She's so creative. She's so talented. I mean, beyond talented. This lady is like, she's a dancer. She's an aerialist. And I'm not talking like hobby aerialist. I'm talking professional aerialist. And she is amazing at it. And she also sings, which is how I got connected with her originally, was to coach her through some stuff she was recording. And she actually created a business during the pandemic. Okay. And I know that a lot of people pivoted and, sort of created things during the pandemic, but it was a struggle, right? It was a struggle for all of us because there was so much uncertainty and, especially in the world of, I don't want to say luxury items, but sometimes coaching and, personal development and that sort of thing can feel like luxury items to people.
Right.
But she managed to pivot from her all in-person career of dance and aerial and all of that into a completely online career as a piano teacher. And
a piano teacher, that sounds exciting.
Right? Like, it's one of those things that, a lot of us think of piano teachers as, I mean no disrespect to any piano teacher, but, we kind of think of it as like that boring thing that we're forced to do when we're kids.
Yeah, that rigid, sit up straight and do what you're told. And there's a stick. There's usually a stick when your fingers aren't there, right?
And play boring songs that nobody cares about and, all of those things.
Yeah.
And Kat has turned that upside down. As someone who I've taken some lessons from her myself, and she brought out something in me that I didn't think was there. So, as a musician, as a singer, I have been forced to, in the past, need to improv vocally on things here and there. And that comes somewhat naturally to me. But when it comes to the piano, I mean, not at all. I am like stuck, glued to the page, trying to figure out, what's that note, play that at the right time, whatever. And she brought this level of creativity and fun and freedom into the way she teaches, that freed me up to actually be able to do that and have fun with it. And it was amazing. So I'm so excited to talk with her today because I think it's just such a cool thing to take something that, has this reputation, has this impression from most people, and just completely blow people's minds with it. And that's what I think she's done.
Absolutely. I have to agree. Like, I went in with the thoughts of piano teachers. Like I said, they have a stick. They make you sit up straight. They're so rigid. But in meeting Kat, she has been such a beautiful and wonderful thing that she seems to spark a passion that you didn't know was there. You go in with the idea of, I'm going to learn how to play piano, and her students come out with the thought of, I am passionate about this and I want to continue this and move forward with it, which is so hard to do with any type of teaching, and especially when it's a forced teaching, how most kids are forced to learn something. But I find through talking to her, she even has adult students that were like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm going to give it a go, who have flipped it and turned it into an actual passion and not just let's do this because I have to. And it's such a great conversation. I found her truly inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's just super fun to talk to. So let's not make our listeners wait any longer. Let's just start talking to Kat right now.
Let's do it.
Hi there, villagers. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jolene. And this is the Success Through Community Podcast,
where we believe that solopreneur success really does take a village.
I see it really as the lifeline.
It's
been essential in getting my business to where it is today.
We're talking with women just like you who know that the secret to their success is their community.
Have you found your village yet?
Good morning. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kat. Today we have Kat Marie of Katz Keys, the beautiful and talented piano teacher. And I'm so excited to have her here because I have a lot to learn because I want to get my son to kind of do what she's doing. So yes, Kat, tell us all about you and your business, Katz Keys.
So Katz Keys really birthed out of, it birthed before pandemic, but it really took off during the pandemic. I have mainly been a dancer and an aerialist for basically my entire life. And that's what I moved out here to Los Angeles for, coming from the Philippines. And so I've been doing that for the last 20 something years. And then obviously when the pandemic happened, we all had to pivot, right? So it was 2018. I went to it was like some sort of a retreat. And then after that retreat, I just had some clarity. I literally was praying and I was like, God, what do I do with my life? Because I felt like I was stuck with what I was doing. I mean, I was training a lot of stunts, a lot of aerial. I was training a lot of acting stuff, and I enjoyed every bit of it. But I just felt like there was something that I really needed to do, but I just didn't know what it was. And at that moment, I really felt strongly that God told me, teach piano. And I did not expect that. It was completely out of nowhere because I never in a million years imagined myself to be a piano teacher. I never even thought of it. It was never in my radar at all.
I love that.
Yeah. So when that was dropped into my spirit, I was literally like, ew. That was my reaction. I was like, ew, why? Why that? That is ew. That's boring. And there's just so many things I hated about it, But, I kind of took the lead. I followed the lead and I just went with it. And here I am now with 70 students.
I love that. I have to admit, that's the first time we hear a lot how people tell us that they never visioned them on the path that they're currently on, and it never would have been something that they would have dreamed of. But you're the first one to quote you. And I think that is wonderful. It just goes to show when you follow what you're supposed to, you end up in the right place. I absolutely think that's amazing.
Yeah, that was literally legit my reaction. I voiced it out loud. I was like, ew, that is, ugh, no.
Why?
Well, and I have to say, as someone who, I took piano as a kid. Who didn't take some instrument or something at some point? Ew would have been my reaction too, because I did not enjoy it at the time. Yeah. But as someone who has taken some lessons from Kat, but has also watched her virtual recitals and things that she does with her students, she has taken all the ew out of it. She's made it fun and made it something that it's just, it has a new life to it that I taught a little bit of piano myself, even in person. And I could not connect to it. And I think there's a lot too, that was not my path. That was me trying to supplement something else that I was doing. It was not where I was supposed to be going. And I think that makes all the difference, right? Yeah. That's everything. If it's the right path you're supposed to be on, you're going to find the way to make it not ew. I guess.
Make it really fun. It's so fun now. I love it so much.
That's awesome.
That's so great.
Kat, one of the things that we love to do early on in our conversations is kind of throw some unexpected questions at you. And we do this in a little bit of a rapid fire way because, it started out, I don't even remember exactly why we decided to do this to our guests. I think because I saw it on another podcast that I thought it was interesting. But one of the things that I have found so interesting about it is that while people are answering these questions, Jolene and myself included, when we did our interviews, we're learning so much about ourselves in what's the first thing that comes to mind. And so, I'm going to throw some at you. So, first question would be, what is the best thing about having your own business?
For me, because I teach online, I think being home. I love I love being home. I just didn't realize because, as a dancer, I traveled a lot, and I of course love traveling and going to different places, but like just being home, and my husband is home, my 7 cats are home. I think it's also, and I'm in a different place in my life now. Like I just love being home. So yeah, just that's my favorite part about having an online business that I can do from home.
Love it. What is the hardest thing about having your own business?
That you have to do everything.
Yeah. Truth. So much truth.
Everything.
So who would you say your business, your piano teaching helps, and how?
I think my piano teaching helps obviously the students, the kids and the adults who want to learn piano. I think how it really helps them, well, for the kids who have never done piano before, it helps them open up to this amazing creative world that they never thought possible. And, for kids who have never taken piano lessons before, I can give them right off the bat a good impression that piano is fun. Like this year, I got so many different cards in the mail, and some of the cards, they did like their life update, during the holidays. And some of them were like, my daughter is finding joy with playing piano. Like, to me, that's such a big compliment. Like, I'm being included in their family letters and their holiday updates, and they're saying they're finding joy in playing piano, or they're thriving in piano, they're excelling in piano. Like, I just think that, as you said, piano can be boring. And none of my students think it's boring. So I think that's really awesome. And for the adults, to peel off that layer, especially adults who have taken piano lessons before, when they come to me, to take that layer of like, ew, this is boring off, So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. Describe yourself in 5 words.
Energetic, adventurous, spontaneous, feisty, and impatient.
Wow. That wasn't hard for her at all. And I can tell
Not at
you,
all.
as the amount that I know Kat, all of those are true. Every
And
single
only
one
someone feisty would be able to answer all 5 of those like that, right? Yeah.
Yes. In which physical location are you the most productive?
In my studio, where I have my piano and my computer set up and all that stuff. Like, cause it's downstairs, away from everything, away from all the cats. Unless I let them in. When I let them in, there's no sense in being productive.
And what time of day do you get your best work done?
Really anytime, because I do really enjoy my work. I can work anytime because I enjoy it so much, and I can just zone in and focus. But I really do love the mornings. Like, there's nothing like the mornings for me.
Nice.
Love it. And then, so obviously this podcast is about community. That's the name of the podcast. And it's something that we believe wholeheartedly in, that community is the key to success, especially in small business. And as a solopreneur and as somebody who works on their own, we need to find that community somewhere, right? So I'm curious to know, what is your favorite online community, since your business is primarily online, and why?
Oh, wow. Okay. For just, like when you have a business, like for me at piano teaching, there's the aspect of the business that you hold, like as far as like you're teaching piano, the business side of it and all that stuff. But there's also, for me to thrive as a piano teacher, I have to feel really good as a pianist. Like, I have to constantly practice. I have to constantly challenge myself, because I think that if I become stagnant in my own skill as a pianist, I wouldn't be a very happy piano teacher. It's very important for me to keep up with like my own skills, and that community I found through it's piano online learning tool. It's called Piano with Johnny, and they have a Facebook community that I just absolutely love because everybody there just really loves playing piano, and we all just share, and everybody's so encouraging. So that's like where I really get like my joy of being around musicians and pianists who are both professional and also like beginner who just love to play. So that's my favorite. I think that's my favorite community.
Nice. And that's Johnny May, right?
That's Johnny May. Yeah.
I actually sang with his sister before, so I know who he is, and he's fantastic.
Wait, we never talked about that before, right?
No, we didn't.
That is such a freaking small world. It's so
I know.
weird.
What are you gonna do? Hollywood is huge and tiny at the same time.
Yeah, it's the art industry is tiny.
Yes, it
right?
is.
Everybody, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so great that your favorite community is one where you are continuing to learn and continuing to grow. And I think that that's so important and like just beautiful when it comes to running a company. Something that is so creative and you have to constantly be on top of it.
Yeah.
Now, one of those things that comes with being creative is making piano teaching fun and making learning piano fun. Now, I've never learned piano with the flute, and I hated every second of it. So I can understand that. So when and I think as an adult, I love the piano. I would just sit in your house in a corner and be the happiest person in the world listening to you play. But how do you do that? What is your unique business strategy, or how did you create it to make it so that you know that you're standing out and that you are 100% different from all the other piano teachers out there?
Yeah. So I think first of all, it's the method, and obviously, this method you can get trained at. And so there's other piano teachers out there. There's like over 100 teachers who are trained in this particular method. It's called Simply Music. It's a playing-based method that was founded by a musician who is from Australia. It's been around for over 20 years. It's been taught in over 12 countries, so many different countries. So obviously, anybody can get trained in this technique. And it is what makes me stand out, though. Like, this particular technique is what makes me stand out, because it is really such a phenomenal way of teaching that is different from the traditional way of teaching. So that's one. One of them is, the method. But number two, the carrier of the method. I think that you have to be engaging. You have to be fun. But more than that, what makes me want to be engaging and fun, I think what really makes me stand out is that I really love my students. Like, I think about them a lot. I think about what would make them learn something more efficient than how I'm already teaching it. What would make it fun for them? What would make them want to go to the piano and practice every week? Like, I think about so many different things to make them want to play. And so when I think about that, I think about, parents, as a parent, my parents, I mean, they had to force me to practice piano, right? Nowadays, I get very, very little complaint, like very little. And because I think it's normal for any child, right? Even it's not just piano, it's for anything. Like, any child doesn't always want to go to their karate lessons. Any child doesn't always want to go to their dance lessons. Those are more fun because it's in a group setting. So it's a little bit different. I mean, my piano lessons are also group, but it's different when you're physically active with your friends in a karate lesson, in a theater class. It's different. But in a piano, most students, they don't want to come to class. But so I think what makes me unique is that I really love my students, and I think about them constantly, what would make it fun and easy. And it's effective because my parents literally, they don't complain. they see their kids play, and they see their kids like loving it.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And I have to say too, like, as one of those people who had taken and was being forced to practice, and then someone who took from you and actually wanted to practice, I think for me, a part of that was, I mean, obviously a part of that is what you're saying, that you made it engaging and fun. And I could tell that you were as invested in what I was doing as I was, or I should be, right? But I also think the fact that you're utilizing technology And I don't mean like the Zoom and all that. I mean like the it wasn't an app, it was a website that you're using. And I think it's through the method, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of adds almost a little bit of like a gamification aspect to it.
Yeah.
That helps to motivate and get, you know, even when you're frustrated or maybe not feeling it that day, you're like, oh, but if I don't, then I'm not going to get that little, you know, check off on the, you know, and that's, there's something to that, especially for kids nowadays. Everything's gamified, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they relate to. And I think we have to kind of be willing to move with the times and realize that, like, hey, just forcing them to sit down in front of a piano is not going to, no, it doesn't work. They're not going to learn from that because you know, there's repetition there, but there's no desire. There's no joy. And that part of it is so important for it to actually like get in there and stick with them.
Right.
And I think to me, that's a big part of it. And I think it's really cool that you utilize that in your business, because online, you know, music lessons of any kind could be incredibly ineffective if you don't utilize the proper tools, you know. I think that's really cool that you do that. So I am curious, when you first decided to start this business, and I'm going to back up and say, let's take out the ew factor, because I'm sure that was the first, the first obstacle. But once you got past that obstacle, what would you say was your biggest obstacle to when you first started the business?
I guess at first, you know, I was like, well, who's going to want to take lessons from me? You know, like when you first start, right? Because you've never done it before, right? Like you're just like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I've been doing this for years. You know, like it's, you can't say that because you haven't, and you're a new piano teacher. Who's going to take from you?
Yes.
You know, things like that. But what I really had to zero in on is the fact that I have been a long time educator. Like I've been teaching my entire life. I've been teaching dance and aerial my entire life. So like if I'm a teacher, you're a teacher, you know, and yeah, I'm learning a new, you know, skill to teach, piano teaching, but I also know how to play the piano and I also know how to teach. So that I just had to marry that, right? So I think my first challenge was like that doubt of like, well, who's going to take from me if they know that I'm like, they're my first student,
Yeah.
you know? But I had to just take that out. It's really just self-doubt. And I just had to step into confidence and be like, nope, I know how to do this. You know,
That's so great, because that's one of the hardest things that everybody struggles with and really causes so many delays in a person's success is that self-doubt, that why me, who wants to, you know, work with me? And it's always out there. So that being said, and you overcame it, and it sounds like you overcame it with greatness and relatively quickly comparatively. So my question is what would one piece of advice that you have that you would give to somebody who is just starting out as an online piano teacher or one in, you know, in person that is struggling with that, who would want to learn from me? Yes, I know how to play. Yes, I'm good at what I do, but why should anyone want to learn from me? What would your advice for them be?
I think the one that, not just stepping into confidence of like, oh, I'm a teacher already, but what really helped me too is I looked at my relationships, you know, and I looked at all of my friends that I have been friends with for many years, and now they have kids. And I'm like, my thought was, which of my friends will trust me with their kids? that's my thought, you know. And I was like, which
That's a
of my,
good one,
you know,
yeah.
And I just realized I have a lot of friends who have a lot of kids, or even if they don't have kids, they have nephews and nieces, right? So I'm like, okay. So I think my advice is like, look at your relationships. Who are your friends that would help you out, that would trust you? Because if you're starting a new business, reach out to your friend. Hey, I'm new in this, you know, can you be my first client? Can you help me out? Like, you know, all that stuff. And also I gave a lot of myself, right? So I offered free piano lessons. So for many months, I offered like 4 free piano lessons for every student. Like that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of time. But I knew that that was the only way for me to get the ball rolling. Like I just knew there was no way for me. I mean, could I have started and asked everybody to pay? Probably I could have, but I just didn't go that route. So I don't know. All I know is that I started with relationships and I gave things for free. And then when they saw that it was effective, they wanted to stay. And a lot of those people are still here to this day. And then they also refer others.
That's so great. Pulling from your community. I mean, that's the purpose here. It's like everybody can be successful without community, but it is so much more appreciated and joyous and even quicker when you do reach out to your community. I love that answer. That is so great. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And you know what? Everyone has to have their first client, right?
Yes.
That's so true. Everybody.
It doesn't matter who you are. Somebody has to be first. And in some ways, I think about in the similar ways in my own business, when I'm starting any type of group thing or anything like that, that kind of imposter syndrome or self-doubt that you're talking about of, well, what if somebody buys into this and they realize they're the only one in here? Or, I do some sort of group online call and only one person shows up, or, things like that. And yeah, there's a lot of doubt and fear and insecurity that comes with that. But then I also think about the fact that, yeah, but that person is so lucky because now they're getting all of my time for the group rate for however long that you know what I mean? So it's it benefits them as much as it does me as I'm learning and trying that new thing, So I think recognizing those types of things helps, taking it outside of ourselves a little bit and, recognizing that not only does everyone have to go through that at some point, everything that we do is new at some point, but also that it is benefiting the other person because we do have the skill set. We just haven't gotten the experience yet. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I love that. So one of the things that we're doing here is talking about and kind of busting some of the common myths in the industries of the people that we're talking to here on the podcast. And I think in the world of piano, but also in the world of online music teaching in any fashion, there are a lot of myths out there. So what would you say is either the most common or just a super common myth in your industry that you just don't think is true?
That you need all of the technology to get started, because that is so not true. When I first started, I literally used my iPhone and I had an overhang thing that was so hard to, those tripods that sometimes it's just so hard to place in the right position. And I did that for at least the first 6-8 months. And it was just a cell phone overhanging over my head to look at, and in the cell phone, you can't get the whole view, right? So it's just this tiny view. That's how I started. And I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have good headphones, none of that, and I think we worry too much about technology stuff when you just have to start. And the more, you get experience and the more you have your client base, then you can invest in a good camera and a good microphone. Now I have all of my systems set up and it's beautiful, but it wasn't always like that.
And that's so true in so many industries. I mean, I have to say, I would think them if I'm to be honest, because whatever industry you're in, there's always somebody out there trying to sell you something to make you better, to improve your business, to make you better at what you do. And in all my years as a photographer, that's one of the lessons I learned the hard way. You do not need all of the tech and all of the gear and all of that equipment right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Further down the line, it's great to have. And, when you get asked questions well, what kind of camera are you using in interviews? It's one of those things where it's well, it's not the camera. You don't tell Gordon Ramsay that he has an amazing stove because his food is good, right? So I think that is huge.
You're a great chef because you have a good stove.
Yeah. Oh, this is the best. You must have a great barbecue. It doesn't work that way, people. So I think that is such a great advice and a myth that needs to be busted across the board, personally.
And I think it actually gets in the way. If you have all of the advanced stuff, all of your energy now, because every time I get a new equipment, it takes me a while to figure it out. And but me taking time to figure it out is great, but it takes time away from me studying and becoming the best teacher I can be, right? So in the beginning, all I worried about was like, did I get the curriculum right? Did I deliver that right? Did I, like it's all about like your craft, I think, at first, like not just at first, but all the time. But like in the beginning, don't worry about the technology. Really focus on like delivering your service as best as possible.
Yeah, focusing on serving. That's basically what we all do. It doesn't matter the industry. You're serving your clients and your customers. And when you focus on them and you love them and you put your energy into them the way you do, that is what's going to be the best way to improve both their lives and your business and your life, right? So with that being said, it sounds like that's one of the most important lessons you've learned over your journey as a solopreneur and as an online piano teacher. But what's something else that you've learned? What's something that really has hit home to you and a hard lesson that you had to learn in doing your own business this way?
That yes, you do everything. It is a little crazy, but you don't have to kill yourself doing everything.
That is really true.
Not everything has to be completely perfect, because I really struggle with that. Because not because I'm a perfectionist, but really more because I just really want things to be excellent. I want things to be as good as it can be. Because part of my business is not just teaching, but getting the word out, right? So like I create piano music videos for myself. That's again, it feeds me being a good piano teacher, because I have to find joy in what I do. And the only way for me to keep having that joy is, of course, loving on my students, but two, filling my own creative bucket up, right? Like that's my thing. So if I don't do that, like I'm just going to dry up and I'm just not going to feel good as a good piano teacher. So, with all of that said, there's so many things that goes into creating that you want to be perfect and all that. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, and sometimes done is better than perfect. Most of the time, actually, done is better than perfect. Yes, just get it done, and put it out there, because if you have nothing to put out there because you're waiting for it to be perfect, then nobody will see it ever.
Kelly, didn't we just have this conversation this morning?
We did.
Yeah.
That's confirmation right there.
Yes, yep,
so
it sure
hard.
is.
But yeah, we did. We had this conversation this morning on, yes, we want everything to be perfect for our clients. We want it to be perfect for those who we're serving. We want it to be perfect for those who are finding us, so that they do want to work with us. How perfection is what stalls us. It's what holds us back. It's what prevents us from putting out that video and all of that. And I think it's almost a conversation that everybody has to have. At least if you don't have it at least once, then you're doing something wrong. In my opinion, something's gone wrong. Either that or you're just perfect in every way, right?
I also think it's a bit of a detriment to your future and potential future clients and I'm speaking to myself right now as much as you guys, but like when we focus so much on the perfection of what we put out there, we set that precedent for our client as well.
Yeah.
And we're telling them that it's not worth putting out into the world if it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't find it worth putting out into the world if it's not perfect. And it's like, right. I mean, we have enough of our own self-doubts. We don't need to add that to ourselves or to our clients. You know what I mean? And I think it's really important to show the reality and to be authentic. I mean, yes, you put your energy into making it as professional or as good as it can possibly be, but you don't necessarily need to obsess over it and make every tiny little thing perfect, because especially in the music world, because to me, I much prefer a live performance over a radio performance, hands down. I want to hear the imperfections because that's human.
Yeah.
When somebody is as amazing as they are, and then you hear the imperfection, then you know how much more amazing the amazing was because it was real, there's nothing faking that, or, so especially with piano, I've done in the past a few videos myself of singing, and a couple where I tried to play, which is not my forte. but it's hard for me to not go back and do it again because I flubbed the piano or whatever. It's like I'm never going to get the whole thing perfect. It's not going to happen unless I break it down into takes and do all that stuff. And for me, I need to get it out there. That's the creative aspect. It's just for fun instead of, for me, it's not business, but like, I think that's so important that as the business owner, as the teacher, that we're setting that example and showing them that it doesn't have to be perfect and that sometimes not perfect is beautiful,
right.
Yeah. I think that's really important. So we've talked about, things that you've learned and advice that you would give. I'm curious what you think is the most important personality trait, I guess, or I don't want to use the word strength because I feel like we all have unique strengths and that's what makes us what we are. But I think, the most important personality trait, I guess, that someone needs to be successful as a solopreneur.
I think that you really have to genuinely care. I think that your clients have to feel that your care for them is really genuine. Because I think about my parents and my students, and the feedback that they get, that I get all the time, is that they can really see that I love the students, that especially the parents, like that you really care and that you really want this to succeed. Like that's everything. I feel like if you really care for your clients, it's going to show through your work, and it's what's going to make them want to stay, especially now. I actually have, because things are opening up, and one of my students were like, we really want an in-person teacher, but we just can't bear leaving you. So we're just going to stay, like, see, it's like they're gonna stay because they love me, because I love them.
Yeah.
That's I think that's very important. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if they have to leave, you just gotta let them go, because they're gonna know what's best for them, and you gotta be okay with that. It's hard because you grow with them, and then they decide, oh, we want to discontinue for whatever reason that may be, right? It doesn't have to be going in person. It could just be like, we're done with piano. Like, it's just hard, but you gotta let it go.
You gotta let it go. And that is so true. And I think with what you're doing, though, is you are making an impact on the lives of your students because you care so much.
Yeah.
So these students are going to grow up, and whether they follow a path of music or not, you have made an impact in their life. And you're another adult that takes them seriously, that cares about them, their well-being, and their success in what they do. And it's going to ripple. It's going to make a difference as they grow older and have kids of their own. And they're going to be searching for a piano teacher just like you when they have their kids. And I think that's kind of amazing. And I think it's because you care that's going to make all the difference in the world. And you are truly making an impact on the planet. So thank you for that. That's kind of great.
Thank you. I just want to add this because I really do believe that, because when I think about where I am right now, I keep thinking about my piano teacher and my ballet teacher. And I literally want to cry every single time I think about them, because my piano teacher, she went to every single ballet recital. She went to, all of my school events. Like, she just cared so much. Like, she loves, like, her method was traditional, and I hated her piano lessons, but I loved her. I loved her, like, I went to piano lessons because of her, not because I liked playing the piano when I was a kid. I hated it. but I loved her, like, and she, really cared about me. And I think to me, that's the reason why I care so much for my students, because I saw what she did for me and how she showed up for me. And I'm like, I need to show up just like that for my students,
I think that's beautiful. That's so amazing. That's a very rare trait. And I think it's kind of amazing that you're doing that. I don't have kids in piano, but thank you for all the kids that you are teaching now and moving forward. I think I have no words. I'm all verklempt. That's so great. Getting emotional. You got me up too early. Looking back on this business and your piano teaching business to this point, and you're talking about Johnny's group a lot.
Would you say that it's, that's how you see community supporting your success? I mean, you've touched on it previously by, saying you started by reaching out to your community, and you're moving forward by being a part of this community. And it's one of those things that community, it sounds to me like it has been a big part of your success and a big part of your business growing. So would you agree and add to with that? Because, we're all about community here and we think that it's so important. Would you agree with that? And can you see that the community has been a part of your success?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am right now without, the relationships I've built throughout the years. Because who would trust me to teach piano? Especially when I was starting and nobody, was there yet. Like, who would trust me? Nobody would trust me aside from, my closest, friends that I've built community with through dance. Like, these are people that I have danced with, performed with, auditioned with, like, for many, many years. And then now that I'm teaching piano, they're the ones that I reached out to, because they are a part of my community. So absolutely, without relationships, nobody will succeed ever. I mean, maybe you can have like your fluke, like you're gonna succeed like really crazy, but then you're gonna be left, all of a sudden you're just gonna crash down and you won't be held up, So
that's kind of where the term "it's lonely at the top" comes from, right? Like I would feel that those at the top that flew to success without even just building a community and using the support of the community, it's going to be a lonely spot to be. And
yeah,
you're right. I think they would come crashing down pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually heard I heard a quote or a phrase or something the other day that totally connects with what you're saying. That concept of if you have that fluke that just like shoots up really fast. And the quote was, and I was just looking it up, that's why I was on my phone for a second, but it says, if it comes easy, it goes easy.
Ooh, yeah.
And I think that's so true. I mean, like, totally random thing to bring up, but like the pet rock, that was super successful, but then where the heck is that? And where's the guy who came up with that crazy idea? Like if you're not building it and taking the time to really build it into something, sustainable and relationship and community, I think is such a huge part of that, then yeah, it's just going to disappear just as easily as it came, and, none of us are looking for a get rich quick scheme, because if we were, we would not be entrepreneurs because that's not how it works. Oh man. So, obviously your entire business is online. So, just realistically, can you let our listeners know where can they find you online if they want to hire you, if they want to watch your awesome videos, which I love watching, by the way, when you do them, where can they find you?
It would just be on my website. It's Katz Keys, KatzKeys.com. And then on YouTube, it's youtube.com/Katz Keys. So those are really, really easy. I'm so glad that I actually have those handles. It's crazy.
It's so nice and easy. And we're definitely going to put those in the show notes so that everybody can find you online. Kat, thank you so much for coming. I was really enjoyed talking to you this morning.
Thank you.
And thank you again for making such an impact on the world. People like you are very much needed right now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Success Through Community podcast,
where our goal is to support female solopreneurs through community.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, make sure you check out the show notes for links, transcripts, and so much more.
And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to the podcast.
Ooh, and don't forget to mention us to your community.
And if you can't wait for the next episode, be sure to join us on Patreon,
where our community is made possible by listeners like you. So thank you so much for your support.
Until next time.